What's up? We are live. Live. It's been a while. Been busy. I got some new tools to hold my phone and to do live streams. I've got a microphone. So if anyone can tell me, I hope it works. I hope that it actually picks up my voice. And yeah, I just wanted to test this out and talk about unlocking your musical creativity. Super important subject. It's probably the most important subject. And I'm going to stop spinning around now and sit down. I've got this awesome platform now. Oh, look at that. All right. So today we're going to talk about unlocking creativity, unlocking the connection to your authentic expression in music. How do we go about doing this? Why is it so important? I have three kind of subjects to talk about within this realm. So if anyone's here, say, hey, what's up? Hopefully this audio is working. Let me know if you're watching so that you can actually hear what I'm saying and we can have a conversation. And let's talk about it. So unlocking your musical creativity. I've been reading some cool books about creativity, and they all seem to revolve around the same idea in music, that the most important thing in music, beyond your skill, beyond your theory, beyond being able to produce, being able to play instruments, whatever it is, above all is emotional resonance, okay? Because music, as we know, is ruled by emotion. And what moves people in music, though it can be linked to skill, it can be linked to technical prowess, it can be soundscapes, it can be all these things. But first and foremost, what matters is how it emotionally moves the listener. I'm sure everyone can agree on this. So that being said, the number one focus in your music should be finding that emotional resonance that you feel and sharing it in your music. It shouldn't be trying to copy other people. It shouldn't be trying to reach arbitrary levels of showmanship or skill, because all of that has to serve emotional resonance. It has to share an authentic feeling you have, because that's what's going to connect with people. And that's honestly what authentic expression is. Hey, what's up, everyone? What's up, Rob? What's up, Joshua? Hopefully this audio works. Awesome. Thank you. So I got this new microphone. Hopefully it's clear. I hope that's all good. So let's continue this conversation. Like, emotional resonance is, I would say, the opposite of getting stuck in your head, because it's so easy to get stuck in our heads when we're unconfident, or when we're trying to learn something, or if we're trying to push out the boundaries of our comfort zone. For learning something new, we can tend to get stuck in our head and tend to overanalyze stuff. And this is usually what separates your head from your heart. And your heart would be like your passion, your raw expression, like what resonates with you, your influences, what you have to say, what you connect with in other music. And that is kind of the source. And then we're trying to transmit this into our craft and like create this sort of mood altering drug that is music by an emotional connection, right? And often that can get lost by getting too stuck in the brain, right? Because the brain, as useful as it is, and we need to use it, it really kind of separates us from that pure intention. And it's kind of a yin and yang, right? It's a balance, right? You don't want to be too heady, but you do need our head to complete tasks and to move forward, right? And to analyze our creation to see how we can make it better. But we always have to keep this balance in mind. So if you're just getting started, if you've been at this a while and you're a rut, or you just want to kind of like re-energize your inspiration, what I would suggest is make a playlist of 15 to 20 songs of your all-time favorite songs from any artist, going back to your childhood that you loved when you were young. Even if it's nostalgic, you don't really vibe with it now, try to find music that spans your whole lifetime and make like an epic playlist of 15 to 20 songs and spin this regularly and start to identify what are the elements in these songs that are super resonant with you. Like, why do you feel so connected to this music? Is it a specific lyrical theme? Is it a specific type of instrumentation? Is it just like a certain kind of scale or a certain kind of mood that you connect to? The more you can kind of like analyze or pinpoint these things, the better you'll be able to like translate how you are resonating with these things into your craft, which is the number one most important thing, because it doesn't matter how skilled you are at your instrument. It doesn't matter how good at production you are. It doesn't really matter if there is no emotional resonance, because that's what the masses, that's what the most people will connect with. And that's ultimately what music does, is it changes your emotional state, right? So what has to be the number one focus is the emotional state going into the music. So that's kind of number one, is like emotional resonance is above and everything is more important than anything else, right? Anytime we get lost in technique, anytime we get lost in strategy, anytime we get lost in theory or analytical or like learning a skill, if it gets detached or disconnected from an intent or from something that's emotionally resonant to you, then it's all for nothing, right? Because people will sense that. People will disconnect from something that's maybe crazy or whatever it is, like X, that doesn't have emotional resonance, versus something that might be more simple, something that might be doesn't matter, complicated, complex, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that emotional resonance. So keep that in mind. Let's go to phase 2, which is hilariously phased decision making. Okay, so from what I've read in like a few books on creativity lately, they all talk about the same subject that I've been talking about, is that we have to approach our creativity in phases, okay? Because like we just explored, we have our head realm, our analytical thought, our like questioning ourselves and seeing how things are done and analyzing structures and concepts and putting it all together in our head. And then we have just raw expression from the heart, where you're just like, this feels right or this doesn't feel right. And it doesn't really have an explanation. It's just how you feel, right? It's just an emotional response. And that intuition versus the editing, the analyzer, is two different realms you have to play with in music production. Because if you're going from creating your very first ideas and you want to get a finished master, you're going to have to do the dance between what you're feeling and then analyzing what you've created and seeing how you can make it better, and then going back to flow state and whatever it may be to go back to analyzing it, right? And the best way you can achieve this is by having phased decision making, okay? And this is actually super important in a modern age where typically in a digital production environment, you are working with digital instruments, synths, you're doing automation, you can change everything. And what this actually leads us to is analysis paralysis, by too many decisions and too many opportunities to go back and change something, which translates to a lack of commitment in your process. Because if you think about, like, go back 20 years, 30 years in the studio, there was so much commitment to whether it's a guitar tone, whether it's a vocal performance. You had to commit to it because of the limitations of your medium. Like, you didn't have the opportunity to track something and then go back and change your synth, or go back and change the MIDI data, or go back and change the snare drum. It was like you're working with what you're recording. And that kind of art has gotten lost as we've gotten more and more able to tweak every little detail. But what's important to take away from that is, like, you want to actually commit to sounds when you can, right? You want to commit to a vibe, to an intention once you feel it, and keep going forward, because the lack of commitment will leave you questioning yourself too much, and will lead you actually to the pathway of, like, not building a solid foundation of your song to build upon if you're constantly changing out bricks, right? Like, if you think of building a house and you're laying out your foundation, and then let's say you're like, oh, actually, I want to, like, add this much to the room, or let's use a different kind of cement, or whatever it is. And it's like, if you continuously change your mind on the foundation of an intent or a song, you're never going to be able to build on it, right? So this kind of translates to, like, making sure that you're intelligently committing yourself to certain sounds, or limiting your options, whether it be, like, if you're making electronic music, try to pick like one synth per realm. So like one synth for the high end, one synth for mids, one bass, and one drum sound to get started. Because getting your musical ideas out and getting that emotional resonance out is the number one focus, right? So then you can go in and change the sound if you don't like the sound, or you can tweak something later, but don't let that stop you from expressing yourself and getting some forward momentum. And this kind of goes into, like, if it's kind of different with electronic, but it's kind of the same principle. Is like typically with a band, you're going to have sessions where you're demoing songs. Okay, so you're getting the idea of songs together before you go to the studio and record it permanently, right? To get the final composition or production. And you want to kind of approach this in your process as well, that you have a phase for getting ideas together, for tweaking these ideas, for experimentation with sounds, for arrangement. Take one, arrangement version 2. Oh, I'm going to change the whole song around, and really play around with it without being super serious until you get to the phase where like, all right, I'm ready to solidify this arrangement. And then once it's solidified, then you can go on to like recording it so that all the takes are super tight, or making sure all the MIDI is properly edited, and then start mixing your project after you have solidified the like intent of your song, right? So this all goes back to seeing your production in stages. It will help you stay focused. It will help you kind of go back and forth from an emotional thing where you're just like in flow state and you're vibing out with the instruments you've chosen, to then deciding, all right, how should this song be arranged, right? What is the most emotionally impactful arrangement I can create by organizing these on a timeline, right? And asking yourselves these questions. Is this harmony actually working? Is this drum beat too busy? Do I need extra percussion? Asking yourself the editor questions, and then go back with these questions and these ideas and flow back into it, right? Like, just don't judge your ideas too much and try to see what comes out. And then you go back to like, all right, is this the final song structure? Do I need any more instruments? Are we ready to start re-recording parts? Is the song finalized, right? So that's the whole approach to approaching your production in phases. And again, I have a free like 7-step process that I use to keep you focused in those phases, right? So you don't get stuck. So if you're interested, I can link it below or whatever. And then finally is you want to keep, if you're doing a big musical project, if you intend to like release an EP or release a full album, whatever it may be, you want to keep a healthy inspirational diet. All right. So that's like above and beyond your actual diet. So like drinking water, not getting dehydrated, getting your like whole foods in, getting some form of exercise, walking, feeling good, getting those natural endorphins. Above that, you need inspirational diet. So you need to be surrounding yourself with music you love, whether it be from your past or stuff that's really inspiring you right now, or books, or even like whatever it is, movies. Like if there's movies you love, watch part of that movie, or watch some of the movies in your downtime that really inspire you, right? Whether it be for lyrical ideas, for sonic concepts, or even just the narrative of the movie itself can inspire you. It could be video games, whatever it is. Just make sure that you're consciously and intentionally surrounding yourself by inspiring material, because all of that will influence how you feel and how you express yourself when you're starting to do a big work. All right. So we kind of want to intentionally choose these qualities, and they will like fall into your flow. They will fall into your subconscious mind as you start organizing ideas that you're working on. If you're surrounding yourself by inspiring people and inspiring medium, like whether it's like music or art or whatever it is, make sure that you keep yourself healthy with inspiration. And this is all about, again, like balancing that pure inspiration and what you have like emotionally resonant within yourself, and translating that to your authentic expression. Because if I can give you any piece of advice in music production, is to really connect to that inner place where you really feel connected to your music without necessarily having to be in a certain category, or I want to make dubstep, or I want to make prog rock, or I don't want to make metal, or whatever it is, some idea of what you have to do. You should really try to make those ideas serve an emotional intent. And if you can start to develop your workflow where you're interacting with that pure emotional intent and translating it into your music production, your music will stand out. Your music will impact the people who feel the same way, and will that resonate with what you're putting out. All right, so that's kind of the 3 tips. To sum them up again is, number 1, emotional resonance above everything, right? Try to surround your workflow, try to surround your workstation and the way that you approach your craft to serve your emotional resonance first, right? Like your concepts, the ideas, the things that inspire you, the things that are most important to you in life. Try to incorporate that into your workflow and ways to continuously like stimulate that.